me to repeat the question? Yeah.
No. It's very good how we
Okay.
in project management or as project leaders can promote sustainability, can promote environmental practices, and this is something I really like because we as project managers, project leaders are basically leaders. So we are leading teams, we are leading stakeholders, we are leading communities. So how can we support, even though it's not an environmental project by itself, so like wind energy or a renewable project, it doesn't matter. We can all promote sustainability practices there. And I like to say that this is leading by example, yeah, and spreading the word, and not only the word, by acting as we can support sustainability. We can make things happen in our projects in a sustainable manner. We can try to reduce waste. We can promote sustainable practices. We can incorporate day-to-day sustainable practices in our meetings, for example, paperless meetings, or trying to do planning that cope with environmental practices, or trying to just switch off the light. Very easy day-to-day practices that we can incorporate. And some that is super easy, that is the that starts with R, like reducing, reusing, recycling, and something that I also like, another R, which is regenerating. So we are not concentrated only in reducing the consumption, but also creating a new environmental future by this word regenerating. We can plant trees, we can contribute to our communities so that they are greener by itself, and also contributing, leading by example, incorporating this environmental, climate conscious mindset in all people around us.
Very good. Carol, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, thank you. And Manuel, thank you for that as well. Because I work and support social impact and just have an amazing passion for people and people's heart and intention. When I think about sustainability, when I think about projects, I'm always the first one on my team. And I think even my friends and my colleagues will laugh when I say I think of people first, right? People first, people's behavior, people's intentions, people's heart, and people's needs are always what I think should be taken into account or should be thought of whenever we think about sustainability, whenever we think about projects, or whenever we think about moving anything in the world. So, Manuel, I definitely understand about thinking about how do we connect virtually, how do we connect in human form, and how do we also make sure we're moving projects forward. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to challenge everybody to think about how are people being impacted. That's my add to that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think all our panelists can keep their camera on so that we are able to view all of you. Uh, if any of our panelists want to add anything to the question already being discussed, please raise your hand so that we can give or allow you to also speak. So, anybody wants to add to this question? Okay. So my next question is to Major Prabha. How does project management shape the future of industries and the everyday lives of individuals in society?
Thank you very much, Ahmad. Hello, friends, again. I would like to address this question from the lens of Malaysia, a country in Southeast Asia. Just about 40 years ago, when I went to school, our country's economy is always defined as rubber, oil palm, and tin. That was the definition where majority of Malaysians were in the agriculture sector. But in the 1970s, the Malaysian government decided to attract foreign investors, major corporations from United States, Europe, and later from Japan, Korea, and so on. What was the one reason that attracted that foreign investment is our infrastructure. I'm glad we had excellent project management capabilities in terms of infrastructure, road, railway, airport, international schools, high quality electric supply, and so forth and so forth. So that has shaped our country from an agriculture to a manufacturing hub. Initially, we were selected for perhaps cheap labor, but later we went up in the value chain. Currently, Malaysia is among the leader in the semiconductor industry, data management, and biotechnology, and various other industries. So I would say project management has enabled the country to transform into high value creation, and that has created a lot of opportunity, employment. More than 3 million for a small country like us are involved in manufacturing alone, and that creates multiplying effect in many other related industry, including education, technology transfer, and so on and so forth. So for me, the foundation of good projects helped a lot in transforming our country and the community at large. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Major
Ahmed.
Prabha. Thank you so much. That was a good insight into Malaysian infrastructure and other things. I recently visited Malaysia.
Ahmed, can I add to that?
Yes,
And
please go
Major
ahead.
Prabha,
Yeah,
awesome to meet you. I wish I can shake your hand in person, and I look forward to that opportunity in the future. Um, I I like this question because I think there's a hypothetical assumption that everybody knows what project management is, right? So when we ask this question, we're asking this question with an assumption that everybody knows what it is. And because I work in a global environment and I also am a local advocate of giving back. So within my own community, I am always reaching out to all of my NGOs and saying, how can I help? What can I do? And what I'm finding is the terminology itself, project management, it's a bit of a scary field for some, but it's also a bit of a retractive opportunity. Unless you explain what project management is, you are leading an you're leading in an assumptive environment. But when you start to dial down the aspects of project management, such as the everyday things that we do that can be associated with the project, or the mega things that we do, such as building a bridge or rebuilding World Trade Center in New York, because I'm a New Yorker, when we start to associate those activities to a project, then yes, we can see individual impact. We can see global impact because we're now speaking a language that is very common and associating it to a process that is a way of working. So I think that there's opportunities for all of us in this community to really start to walk away from language that is foreign, that is alienating others, and using language that is relative and perspective to others to be invited into this community. Because this community can sometimes also just be repetitive with the same things while the rest of the world is trying to understand us instead of, again, just us meeting everybody halfway. That's my opinion. And again, I'm going to own that as my personal opinion. And if anyone has anything to share about that, please feel free to join.
thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for bringing that forward. Next question. If anybody wants to add anything, please raise your hand, and then we will do that. Next question is for Dr. Mick. How does project management contribute to economic growth and job creation in society?
I think everywhere in terms of globally, I'm going to start saying with especially young people getting into the market,
Mm-hmm.
economy and job creation are interlinked.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you can run away from that. So, in which ways is project management related? First of all, I'll start by saying when we use the word sustainability, we always think of environmental sustainability instead of thinking in a broader view. It's more of how do things continue? It's a continuation of anything in a balanced manner. Well, when it comes to economic growth and job creation for society, and what is society? Society at the end of the day is me and you. It's people. Yeah. So this is a complicated and multi-pronged answer, but I'll try my best to summarize it. So how does project management come into play? Uh, One, let's say, I'll go in sort of bulletish points. Mm, we have to be efficient. We have to be purposeful in what we are doing. And by that, I mean resource utilization. Project management ensures that resources are used effectively and efficiently, whether it's financial, money, human, that is people, and materials, the things that we use. Our infrastructure development, when we manage small or large scale projects like a small, what we call a spaza shop, which is a small little shop, to transportation systems, energy plants, and communication networks, project managers are involved in all of it. So we have to enhance abilities, and it has to start when we are young. Innovation and being competitive. We have to be competitive in project management. That enables structured implementation of new ideas and technologies, innovations that drive projects, which are managed effectively, efficiently, which can make us competitive in what we do. Another thing is a lot of people don't know, but small business empowerment is what drives society. We think that it's the governments and huge corporations, but it's those small businesses that actually contribute to about more or less 60%, and to certain cases, maybe 70% of GDP. So these also produce a lot of jobs. And continuing talking about jobs, in industries, for example, like construction, IT, healthcare, which I'm involved in, create a very high demand with project managers. We think of project management in terms of construction or IT software, but everything that we do every day is project management. We don't think about it, and we don't think of agile or data-driven decision making, but it is that, at a larger scale or a smaller scale. And of course, it has the project management. What it does also, whether you're working in advocacy, in NGOs, it helps with economic stabilization. If economy is stable uh, through project management practices, it enhances the likelihood of project success, of course. It also minimizes financial losses. And that is why we hear a lot of people saying, oh, our companies are going under, the government hasn't enough money for infrastructure, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, it's all because it hasn't been planned well. Project management does help to plan everything from one stage to another. I don't know if yeah, I've been talking a little bit, I've been a mouthful, but there's so much information that comes with job creation, economy, and project management. Yeah, I think we need a whole day, a whole topic on this alone. So that's all
Yeah,
for now. I hope
I
we keep
agree.
on
Yes,
talking about
yes,
this.
yeah, yeah. Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mick, for bringing that up. Yes, economy and the youth, uh, and the growth, economic growth and job creation, they go hand in hand. Major Prabha, you did highlight about Malaysia and the progress of Malaysia from 1970 to till date. What is your opinion on this question, economy and job creation?
Yeah, it's very interesting when we talk about projects, and I'm sure, not sure now, listening to Carol, among the project management community, we must be very clear about portfolio, the strategic intent, program, the integrated project to achieve an objective. So in Malaysia, one of the reasons why we were successful in transforming the country to be a global hub for manufacturing from an agriculture country, like I mentioned just now, is successful projects not only building the factory, but associated
Oh,
infrastructure and talent development. So, for example, today we are going into um, high-end cybersecurity and semiconductor industry. So, our TVET, Technical Vocational Education Training Program, is aligned to support that. So, because of that, our I'm glad to inform our unemployment rate is almost zero. We attract many foreigners to come and work here, and
hmm.
among us is project management. Obviously, like everything else, there is significant room for improvement in our project, and I'm glad community like PMI is contributing for the project management capability development among Malaysians for successful projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Major Prabha. Manuel, you mentioned about reduce and regenerate as part of your discussion. So, how do you relate this economy and job creation?
Yeah. For example, connecting these people and environment, there are like new jobs that are being created, new opportunities that are being created with this net carbon zero by 2050. There are so many innovations that we need to create to comply with that target that we cannot even imagine some of them as of today. But how do you create something that is new, that is going to transform what we have today? No matter whether it's small or big, no matter whether it's going to have a small impact or a big impact, how do you do it? You set a project that is going to make those ideas come true. Yeah. How, for example, are we going to monitor our emissions in certain circumstances? Maybe we need to create some technology, some app, some innovations, and there project management has a lot to say by establishing a project, planning, implementing, monitoring, so that we can keep track on our 2050 net carbon in with net zero emissions in some years to come.
Okay. Uh, I have a question from the audience. Saz Miller, he has requested a question. How do you propose collaborating between different countries to have a better impact on the societies you serve? I'll repeat the question. How do you propose collaborating between the different countries to have an even better impact on the society you serve? Carol, you want to take this question?
I'll start, but I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
and I hope that others can join in
sure.
and share their answer. Um, Collaborating sometimes needs to be defined
Hmm.
before we even take a step forward, right? Again, I words matter, language matters to me, so I'm always going to start the sentences this way. In order for cross country collaboration, even cross community collaboration or cross individual collaboration to happen, I think those that are interested, whether they're curiously interested or fully interested, need to be able to come together and have kind of a working session where they're talking about areas of opportunities, where they're talking about areas that they can impact. And they're also sharing what kind of resources they have in order for this collaboration to even evolve into something that is tangible, or as we say in the space, a project, right? So the mindset of collaboration needs to really start with doing I would probably say a soft assessment of where are you now, where do you want to go, what are the resources, and what is that future tangible outcome that you're looking to do. But I think also too, making sure that you really have an open channel, cross country, cross community, or cross individual, to have these conversations and to follow up on these conversations. Because oftentimes there's a hard intention to collaborate, but the follow up and the follow through can sometimes be a little weak, Or if not, it could just be an idea that everyone's excited about. And then it also comes backwards and it goes a little weak. So I think there's opportunities in there. And I want to open it to the rest of my panel colleagues to add in their insight.
Yeah, for
So who wants
example,
to go? You want to? Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, for example, this chapter exchange
Mm.
conversations, monthly conversations, are really a very good example of how countries can collaborate. You mentioned at the beginning that, no, you, Priscilla, mentioned at the beginning that we are representing 43 different countries here, but we are not
Correct.
just us. We have like friends, families, we have our local communities where we support or where we engage, and we are learning here from other colleagues with the questions, with the answers, with the reflections that each of us are doing during this conversation, and some of them we can apply it in our local communities. So how we can, in this also education as one of the sustainable development goals, how we are being educated, how we are getting insights and learnings from this global community that we can then apply locally. I think this PM exchange is a very good
Yeah,
example
yeah,
of
yeah. I want
collaboration.
to correct. Thank you,
I
Manuel.
would
For
like, apologies, Ahmed, I would like to add something. Because we are currently suffering from a certain economical problem in Lebanon, having this collaboration between chapters is what allowing the community to grow. So, as I said before, we grew by 150%. And the reason why is because, for example, when we are doing a certain collaboration with PMI MENA chapters in specific, especially in the GCC area as well, in Riyadh and Dubai and Abu Dhabi, we are creating as well, for example, a job hub where we are sharing job opportunities between chapters. We are allowing, for example, an exchange of experiences, latest trends in project management. So everything related to this, everything related, for example, to economy, how to draft certain contracts, for example, because each country has its own law. So what we're trying to do always by doing those collaborations, and why it's really important, and this is one of the reasons why we always keep on pushing for further collaboration, is to create a community, to create a support for all the members worldwide, because I do believe that we all need support in a way or another. So that's why I think it's a very great opportunity, and it should be done further and further.
yeah, we should improve the frequency of this. Thank you, Riam, for
Ahmad, if I can share
helping under.
something.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. I really like the question about collaboration. And I would like to emphasize collaboration should always focus on mutual interest, a win-win situation. At times, the collaboration is one-sided. At times, the collaboration leads to manipulation. So I would like to emphasize that cultural intelligence, especially in the global community, one must understand each other's culture beyond the superficial but deep inside the values. And by understanding and genuinely respecting each other's growth, then we can find common benefit to collaborate. So I've seen this in a couple of projects, and in order to have a sustainable collaboration, there must be mutual respect and think win-win. That's my perspective, Ahmed. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Major Prabha. But I see the collaboration, the example which Manuel mentioned about this platform that we are talking about. See, in this one platform, we are talking to people from Malaysia, South Africa, Spain, USA, and Lebanon, and myself from India, right? So that itself is a huge collaboration and an excellent knowledge sharing activity that we are working on.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for being a part of this activity, and I'd like to thank the audience for asking such questions. My next question is from Benil Tambi. The question is for Major Prabha. How does he adapt to IT strategies? How does he adapt to IT strategies in the in in the shift easy personally? Is the shift easy personally and professionally? Key adoptions advices, please. How does he adapt to IT strategies? Is the shift easy personally and professionally? And key adoptions advice. I think this is a
Well,
follow up on the economy and job creation that we mentioned, right? So somebody has put a question asking you
yeah,
more
very
details about.
interesting. Thank you very much for the
Uh,
question. I would share from my perspective of how we adopt technology. So,
mm,
before we talk about the success, let me talk about what are the possible mistakes people do. Whenever we take out about technology, sometimes they send people for training, involve in investing on infrastructure, and few number of people will be competent. But in order for us to adopt technology, there must be a clear cultural and competency for all related stakeholders. And one must make sure the change management strategy. For example, shifting from an old technology or a manual technology into IT adoption, that not only the IT skills, but associated skills, for example, cybersecurity, skill set of people, and intellectual property, and associated activities must be managed. This is one beauty about project management when we start thinking from a portfolio perspective and what are the different projects that influence, in this case, the IT adoption, and how do we integrate in that process. I must
okay,
admit there are significant failure that I have experienced in my projects, and it took some time
okay.
for successful adoption.
Would you like to share, or we'll come to your the significant failure that you mentioned? We would what also our panel would also like to know more about that. Uh, this question I want
Maybe,
to the next question.
maybe, maybe if I can
Yes,
complement
please. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead,
in
please.
this example that our colleague, it's very like significant and very representative of how project management can impact society as well. These IT developments that he's mentioning, because in project management we not only focus on the technical side of the project. Yeah, every, for example, IT project is a social, has a, every change management has also a social impact. How we can not only do the technical development in this IT tool, for example, but how we need to also train, educate, have the change the social mindset of going from manual to technology. So in this, we're also supporting the evolution of society, focusing on people um, instead of just the technology. So this is why I really like this example of Major Prepa. And I think it represents very well the combination between people, technology, and how both together can enhance and can lead our society to thrive and move forward.
Right. While we are discussing this, we cannot leave healthcare far behind. So we have a question from Benil Tambi for Dr. Mick. To Dr. Mick, as changes in the healthcare so complicated, how do you get buy-in from the executive management?
Oh
Over to
well.
you. Mm.
Um, this is always a tricky one. It doesn't matter whether it's healthcare or you're doing what oil.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, you have to be clear about what you're doing, your plan, communication. Mm, in essence, it's a relationship between you and those above you and your team as well. Remember, you're not just you, it's a whole team. So at the end of the day, I'll say it's communication, creating that free flowing communication and being clear about what you're doing and what your team is doing. Because if you're a project manager, you're not working alone. You're working with a number of people, and you need to have goals, of course. And those above you will demand that you produce goals. Hence, communication and be realistic. If you say that you're going to do 100, when realistically, because of many factors, for example, um, things that change in economy, our neighbors, for example, we in South Africa, Mozambique, in the last week has had a lot of political instability, and it came very suddenly. It changed a lot. So in healthcare as well, because we used to get patients from Mozambique to South Africa. Those are,
Hmm.
as you know, it happens even in Malaysia, in China, and in Europe. A lot of people go to do treatment there. But you have to be uh, clear in your communication so that the executives can understand what is happening, and that has to be done often enough and clearly enough.
Okay. Thank you. I have another question on the technology part. I'll put it across to the panel. The question is from Samshuddin Haider Sayed. How do you deal with the advances in technology with respect to AI and its involvement with respect to adaptation and reliability with solution provided? You want me to repeat the question? How do you deal with the advances in technology with respect to AI and its involvement with respect to adaptation and reliability with solutions provided? Is AI playing a bigger role in this impact to society? Are we making use of AI for maybe for healthcare or for other fields where we are using?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. AI and technology is
Hmm.
probably what's going to drive and what's probably driving healthcare right now.
Hmm.
From data capture, how patients are moved from one place to another, treatment, sharing of knowledge. There's so much, including pharmaceuticals as well. So AI is absolutely vital. Technology is probably at the center of healthcare right now. So for all those who are who are doing AI and you don't understand, you have to understand. I use AI and I use technology a lot, including, for example, talking about technology, 3D printing. Most some of the treatments I used to do, I had to do it in 3D printing, and that requires what AI, CAD CAM. It's so much. I mean, technology drives medicine right now. I think anyone involved and who's been to any hospital right now will know that.
I would like to add something that I'm
Yeah, go
currently
ahead, please.
studying a course that is a diploma. It's called Fashion Luxury Brand Management. And we have one of the courses, we are discussing how even AI is interfering in the fashion design. So what I'm trying to say, so I come from an engineering background, so I already use it a lot. I work at Ernest and Young, so I use AI a lot. Nevertheless, now like how much AI is impacting every aspect of any industry, it's beyond imagination, and how we are using it. And for example, even the metaverse and the blockchains, for example, certain developments like this. So it's remarkable.
Thank you, Riam. Thank you so much for adding. Okay. I have another question from our audience by Edremi Owade. Can you discuss a project where you observed a transformative social impact and identify the critical leadership strategy decision or cultural setting that led to its success? I'll repeat the question. Can you discuss a project where you observed a transformative societal impact and identify the critical leadership strategies, or decisions, or cultural setting that leads to its success?
Yeah, for
Can,
example,
oh, okay, sorry.
I can
You can go.
I can say about wind energy projects. We have developed
Hmm.
wind energy in many parts of the world, some of them developing countries, and some successful stories always come in not just installing the turbines, for example, in the country. In some of the countries that we've been working, and there were no infrastructure before doing that project. So how the country, together with the multilateral development banks and the global institutions, um, foresee and assess that project, not only in terms of the turbines running and creating wind energy, but how that project contributes to the whole development of the country. So because of the turbines needed to go by vessel to the country, they developed the infrastructure at the harbor, for example, or they develop better infrastructure by roads to transport those turbines to the site. And once you finish the installation of a wind turbine project, for example, those machines are going to last there at least 20, 25 years to come. So who is going to maintain those turbines? And we can create the environment to teach and educate the local communities to then learn how to maintain those turbines. So together with that project, we are creating better futures, better education for those local communities that will stay there instead of going elsewhere to look for better jobs. Let's put it like that. That's one example that can be set.
Thank
Can
you,
I
Manuel.
sort of
Yeah, go
add
ahead.
to, yes, with when we're talking about culture and project management,
Mm,
I was working in China in those development years when China was developing at double figures. And during that time, it was almost unheard of what project management is. And being non-Chinese, that was a culture shock for them and for
mm,
me. And how did we, or how did I, as with the project management mentality? One was by adopting the culture itself, because I was in China and I had to
mm,
speak Chinese fluently. I had to write and read fluently. So this is where then you start to communicate with the people who are running the project that are above you, and those who are more hands-on, not just on the management side. So to have and to go collaborate uh, internationally, you have to find a method, and project management mentality helps you with that methodology, and then you
mm,
transfer it to a different country, a different place. And that's how uh, initially our projects were based on the south and eastern part of China, which were more developed, but the central part wasn't so developed. And the language, the Chinese itself, the Mandarin itself is different. So we had to adapt to all that. Those are all cultural changes. And we had to go to other Asian countries, Malaysia inclusive, Singapore, Thailand, etc., etc. It's very different because we're always working with people from Malaysia, from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from Japan to get this project. And those are languages that are totally different. Unlike, for example, in Africa, in the southern part of Africa, where we communicate mostly in English, so it's
correct.
much easier.
Mm,
Exactly. So when you have a project management mentality, it changes everything. Actually, that's why uh, I
good.
personally think when you're
Yeah.
collaborating and to be successful, culture is very much ingrained in it, and you have to adapt to
Okay.
it, of course.
Okay. So for the panel, there is a question from Amanda Pradhan, and the question is: how do you measure ROI when it comes to project for social impact? How do you measure ROI, return on investment, when it comes to project for social impact? So who wants to take this first?
I'll start. Um,
Go ahead, please.
yeah, so measuring ROI when it comes to
Hmm.
social impact is one of those where if you put the terms social impact into, let's say, your AI or your Google or whatever it is you search, you're going to see many different definitions, and you're also going to see many different measurements, right? And this is where I will say the project management process itself allows you to take what your ideal project would be in social impact and really give it those steps where you are able to actually pull out and identify a measurement, right? Because measurement in project social impact can sometimes be subjective,
Hmm.
and because it really depends on what you are really trying to impact. So within my workspace, I've seen and I work with many chapters that really want to impact the education environment. So oftentimes for them, education means teaching basic project management skills using one of the resources that PMIEF has, which is Skills for Life, so that the students can understand at least the basic terminology. So their measurement is how many students understand the basic terminology of project management, right? So, and in academia, oftentimes with our academic resources, it's about how many college students, either entry level first year college students or graduate college students, can understand and physically apply the terminology of project management. So, measurement in social impact, it could also be working with NGOs. And I think Rian here talked about how the Lebanon chapter is working with several NGOs. So, social impact measurement could be how many NGOs can we work with, are we working with, and how many of their staffs are we training? And are those individuals going back to apply those processes or concepts of project management? So I think it's one of those where you would take the project management process and align it to what the outcome is that you want to see in that social impact space.
Okay. Dr. Major Prabha, you want to add something to this? The return on investment?
Yeah,
While
that's
you,
very interesting
Hmm,
question about social impact. And there's a lot of money invested in capacity building. But it's very
capacity building.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm,
so let's say you want to enhance the community to be more productive. For example, during COVID, many after COVID, for example, to transform community, there was a lot of countries who spent money for capacity building. In terms of skills, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of digital economy, etc., etc., etc. One of the biggest challenge in training is translating the learning into action. We call that learning transfer.
okay.
Interestingly, research says more than 80% of training is not applied. Harvard Business Review, for example, in October 2016, came out with an article, Why Leadership Training Failed and What to Do About It. Interestingly, they started the article, a gentleman called Michael Beer. Corporations are victim of great training robbery. Trainers are not there to rob, but when we are conducting training, after that, there is no significant outcome. That's only activities. That learning is called scrap, learning scrap. I hope I don't burden with a lot of jargon. The message here is learning that not applied is a waste. So anyone
Correct.
who's talking about developing people,
Hmm,
if one last thing, if you look at training as a seed, make
hmm,
sure there is a process of watering and fertilize the seed. Otherwise, the best seed in the world will only become dry seed after a couple of weeks. And in research says there's 80% of dry wasted money. Coincidentally, my PhD happened to be in this field. Thank you very much.
okay. Thank you. So there is
Uh,
another question from our, or you want to add something, Manuel?
no, only that comes to mind that very relevant to consider not only the economic impact when we measure the ROI, but always having in mind this triple benefit of economic, social impact, environmental. And depending on what you are looking for, then having the right measures, not only
Hmm,
focusing on one of them, but having this wide approach according to your goal: economic, social,
correct.
and environmental, and the people that you have also impacted. Hmm.
Yes, that's a good touch that you reminded us about the ESG goals. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you so much. We have another question from Tamal Banerjee. How can we take learning from countries or region where government is taking PMI support to educate ecosystem for higher project success? How can Carol, you want to take this? How can we take learnings from countries or regions where government is taking PMI support educate ecosystem for higher project success?
I don't know if I have the right answer to this, so I'm not going to lead with saying this is my right answer, but this is my answer from working at PMI and also supporting globally. What we are seeing is that the local individuals that have an extreme passion and an extreme understanding for how project management can change the world and change the way that we work and change the way we show up, those are the individuals that are going to the government and advocating for project management to be part of the education system. One of the examples that I have is working with the Portugal chapter and how passionate they were that they went to the Ministry of Education and constantly shared with the Ministry of Education positive success outcomes that they were seeing from the students, from the teachers, and also from the curriculum transformation. So I think that in order to convince any government or any institution or any funder about the impact of project management, there has to be that visible impact. There has to be that documented opportunity and basically some really strong will and passionate individuals to keep advocating, keep advocating. So
Correct.
it takes
Yeah.
that human energy to be able to make that change. Does
Correct.
anyone
So
want to
yeah, I
add
think that
any?
takes us back to, yes, yes, of course. So that takes us back to the previous question, which said that the return on investment. So if you are able to showcase the return on investment on all these social projects, then it is easier to convince the government or the organization or the stakeholders or the executive management, as somebody pointed out, right? So once we are able to get those return on investments correctly, it becomes easy to convince some others to support those projects. I have another question from our audience, Vatsal Mehta. How do we as project manager work with our team to adapt to the new age technologies to break the barrier between the key stakeholder and our team to make our project a success? This is a generic question. How do we as project managers work with our team to adapt to the new age technologies to break the barriers between the key stakeholders and our team to make our project a success? Major Prabha, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, sure. What I would
Hmm.
suggest is we have to understand what could be the reason for the barriers, for the resistance, for the reluctance of adopting the technology. So many of us in project management, I'm sure we are familiar with the stakeholder management. Why our internal stakeholders, for example, are resisting? It could be fear. It could be fear as if AI is going to take away my job. It could be a fear. If more traceability happen with technology, some of the limitation or weaknesses will be exposed. So we have to have a transparent, authentic discussion. What is the fear? What is the root cause of the fear of the relevant stakeholders? And then adopt the appropriate problem solving techniques. What are the root cause? How to give them the confidence. It's not necessarily the skill. Sometimes it could be the coaching, mentoring, some kind of support system. So we need to adopt the stakeholder management effectively and then utilize change management strategies. So that will be my suggestion. Don't make assumption that just by sending some people for training, they will acquire the skill. Please
No.
be reminded, some common sense for one people could be nuclear science to another.
Hmm. That's a good statement that you make. Common sense for one could be a nuclear science for another. I think we had a very good discussion. There is so much more to discuss and learn from each other. But as time is
Yeah.
always a barrier, I would want to know any closing comment by each one of you. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Mick, you want to pick up the closing comment for our session today?
Yeah, I personally think that from what Dr. Preba also said, which is an addition to it, actually, I think there's a sometimes it might be a age gap. You know, these days most of the managers at executive level are much elder, but
Mm-hmm.
those coming into the market come in with a totally different mentality of technology or using AI, and people feel threatened. People do feel threatened.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm just adding to Dr. Preba, what he said.
Mm-hmm.
An age gap could be an issue as well. So resolving these issues, you can have someone in your team that can be the mm, contact point between the executives and yours and those much younger people who will transfer that sort of communication. And education in itself, I think, uh, myself inclusive, I was an accidental project manager. So I think we have to start with. I see a lot of comments about education from primary school level. Of course, we have to adopt a process where we have primary school children get introduced with small little projects, for example. And then we follow on to, and that's, for example, grade one, grade two, grade three, grade four, etc., etc.,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And then follow to secondary school. And that's what I'm doing right now. As I'm VP of academic outreach, I deal more with tertiary institutions, which universities. But what I've done in the NGO that I'm running is I'm approaching secondary schools and at not high end, but those at grassroots levels. Because I asked them a simple question the first time when I was starting to work with them, which was, "What would you like to do when you go to university?" I always had four answers, which was to be a politician, to be a celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
a doctor, and a lawyer. That's it. They don't know anything about dairy, processing. They don't know anything about minerals, and that's an issue. That's a big issue. So education, getting their minds open, and even at tertiary education, a lot of people don't know about project management. So from primary school, we slowly can start introducing, and then to secondary school, and at all levels, and then to tertiary, and then professional. That's all I would like to add for now.
And also maybe
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mick.
worth
Yeah, go ahead.
considering maybe in this worth considering in these technology AI questions that we are thinking about projects to advance society. Let's put it like that. There are projects on that side, but remember that we can also have projects on the other side, and in this context of impact, positive impact on society, projects on how not to let anyone behind. So how we are going also creating projects that support those that are not in the front row of technology, as Doctor said, maybe because of age considerations or education, whatever. But we are all together in here with society, people first, having a positive impact. So those that can move forward, but also not to leave anyone behind.
Okay.
And I would like to add one last thing, please. I think about AI in two things. First, organizations should allow an environment where employees they are allowed to do mistakes, just in order for them to discover artificial intelligence and how they can use it and embed it in their work. Especially because AI, we still don't know that much about it, so it's still new. Relatively for everyone. And the second one, because I'm reading the chat, will AI replace us? AI will never replace humans, but what will replace us is a person who knows how to use artificial intelligence correctly and
Correct.
perfectly in the job. So that's the only difference. If we know how to use it and we allow ourselves this fearless mindset of approaching artificial intelligence, then I think we're good to go.
Correct. Very well said.
Very well said.
Very well said. Yeah. So, uh, Carol, you want to add the last statement, closing statement?
I I was actually listening. Yeah, I'm here.
You done?
I was listening
Yeah.
to everybody and just sort of kind of doing my own introspective reflection. Um,
Hmm.
I would say this to everyone on this panel and everyone also in the chat space asking these amazing questions is we all are the best advocates for project management, right? And I say that because every one of us has had the experience of learning it, applying it, tweaking it, expanding it, and continuing to work in those spaces. So as a call to action for all of us, I would say let's challenge each other every day to show up and use the language of project management so that others can adapt and not feel so foreign to it, right? And I'm saying that because I sit in a community where I work with my local YMCA, and even asking them if they know what project management means or if they've ever used project management methodology, and I've had like a weird silent look, it makes me feel and believe
Correct.
that we still have a lot more work to do. Those of us that are
Correct.
members of PMI, those of us that are members of the project management community, we have to use our language and be really proud of being part of this community. Because otherwise, we're only going to keep talking about the impact that we're making and the work that we do instead of the bigger impact that we see and that we can make with project management. That's my insight.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carol. I think that's an excellent collaboration between chapters across continents, and we really were able to bring up the insights about uh, project management project management impact to society, covering from Spain to South Africa, Malaysia, USA, and Lebanon. Thank you so much for being such an excellent panel. I would now let me just take this session forward, and we almost at the end of our timing. We have a few minutes to close this. So thank you so much, and we would like to connect with you again and again and bring forward more details from your chapter, from your area, and from your region at a global platform. Thank you once again to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Pleasure,
everybody.
pleasure, pleasure,
It's been
pleasure.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah. Moving on to the next section of this uh, this is the outro of our event today. Anita, you want to speak about it?
Yes.
Go ahead,
So
please.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there were so many key takeaways with the whole panel discussion. I was just noting down everything that you people were saying. It was a great insights into each one of your experiences. So to summarize the event altogether, we had 1,400 registration, out of which 43 countries, covering 43 countries, and close to 1,000, close to 150 attendees. Great insights by our guest speaker, Carol. And thank you so much, Riam, for just briefing us on the Lebanon chapter. What are the initiatives that they are doing? To summarize the whole thing, these are my key takeaways, wherein economic growth and job creation should go hand in hand. As Carol said, we should have a tangible outcomes. We there is a need to train, educate, and change the mindset of the people, and not just use the technologies going forward. We should have a combination of people and technologies, as the example given by Major Dr. Prebagar. For collaboration, adopting the culture is very important. Then Dr. Mike very well explained how to have a clear communication in the healthcare industry by giving so many good examples. And coming back to the AI and technology part, this is deep driving into all the sectors, irrespective of which industries it is. As said by Riem, it is penetrating into the fashion industry also. So there is a need that we all adopt to these changes that are coming. Last but not the least, Major Dr. Pregam rightly said that learning and not applying is completely a waste of whatever you are doing. So it's very important that whatever you are learning, you should apply it wherever you are on the projects, on your professional or personal life, showcasing how to have this overall social impact, how to have this return of investment measured by showcasing and advocating about it, and then formulating it to the government by applying on the UNSDG goals and etc. that we have that we already have in place. Last but not the least, the famous quote, like takeaways for me is common sense for one could be a nuclear science for another. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the
Thank you, Anita. Thank you so much.
event.
Thank you so much for uh, collating everything that was discussed in the last hour and a half and bringing it forward. Thank you so much for doing this at a very short time. Moving on to the next segment. Uh, in the beginning, we mentioned about the impact on the spotlight on you. So today we have Ishan Thakkar, and his quote was, "Innovation through project is the key to progressive society. Every breakthrough starts with a well-managed project." I repeat, innovation through projects is the key to a progressive society. Every breakthrough starts with a well-managed project. Thank you, Ishan, for this quote. I think we are almost at the end. We just have a This is the exchange effect that we saw, around 160 plus attendees and across 43 countries. And here is the QR code for feedback. So request everyone to please spare a few seconds and help us improve our sessions so that next time you will get to know more details. And we would also request everyone to provide their details about the kind of session that you want to us to host, the topics that we are, because we are also in a process of finalizing sessions for 2025. So any session that you are looking forward in the coming month and the coming year, please let us know in the retro board. And here is the QR code. Sorry, here is the QR code and the for the feedback, and also the PDU code. So I'll paste the PDU code in the chat as well for people who are not able to see. Okay, so you'll be able to claim your PDU code as well. And going on to the next section is, okay, here is the QR code for our next event. We're planning to host our next event on 22nd of November, another Friday, almost at the same time. And the topic for us, our discussion will be importance of power skills and organization culture. Importance of power skills and organization culture. And in that session, we are expecting panelists from Gyasas, Indonesia, Mongolia, Nigeria, and USA. Picket Sound chapter. So I'll just paste this link. I've already pasted it once. I'll paste this link in the chat for you to register or share it within your network, within your chapter. And we'll request all of you to please pass on this message to within your chapter within and help us get in more registration in the coming month. We will share more details on our panel, and I'll request all of you to follow our chapter page so that any updates or any LinkedIn page, so that any updates from our chapter is visible to you and you are able to get those details quickly on time. I think that is all we have for today, and thank you once again for all your effort and support in bringing this forward to you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much.
everybody.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Great
everyone.
pleasure.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. It was great meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Anita.
Where is the Thank you, Manuel. Thank you.